I don't think we're better off.
Speaking of people that are addicted to dating apps, look at this. So this guy, it showed like his matches and everything. So he's, nice guy, probably thinks a lot about the Roman Empire, and right swipes 1 million, okay? Matches 719, chats 217, dates 1, relationships 0. Bro, this guy
watches Asmongold.
Hi everyone, I just thought I'd show you what it's like to have Tinder in Utah as a girl. I'm just going to show you my profile real quick. Very nice, very cute. I think I have my socials in my bio. Yep. Let's see the men. No, that's an ad. Nope. No.
Am I a whore? I don't give a fuck.
It's funny when you're not on dating apps, any activity you do becomes a possible mating opportunity. So like, I'm washing my car right now and I'm like, wait, someone could drive by right now and I could be like dropping it low, getting into the wheels, you know what I mean? It could be my time. I could look over, guy drives by, we make eye contact, give him a little wink. He rolls down his window and says, hey, do you need help with that? And I go, I need help with a few other things, if you know what I mean. That's it, he's the one.
You're a younger guy, you have maybe a dating app like Hinge or Tinder. If you're in amazing shape, guys don't realize how much of a difference it makes. If you just have one sick photo at a pool shirtless, your match is just 5x. It is like a...
Welcome to the show. After the kids go to bed, we talk about love, relationships, and sex. So join us for lively discussion and thought-provoking ideas at Love is on the Air. My name is David, and I'm joined by my lovely wife, Natalie, contributor and chief over at the Feminine Frame website. Welcome, everybody. I'm David Peterson. I'm joined by my lovely wife, Natalie. How are you tonight?
I'm doing well, as always. Excited for the show.
Well, me too. What are we talking about tonight, Natalie?
All right, we are talking about dating apps tonight.
Dating apps. Yes, I love it. So what about dating apps?
Well, we're going to do a little run through. How have dating apps changed since we were dating? Are dating apps a good thing? Or are they a bad thing? And
I think we should follow up with what our suggestions would be for a young man or young woman, or maybe just anyone that's single, really.
Yeah.
What our suggestions would be going forward in modern apps.
Right.
So,
I mean, we always seek to be useful, I think. So let's do that.
Well, yes, let's be useful. So what's the first question you had is, are apps a good thing? But before we can answer that, I think we got to talk a little bit about what apps are we talking about?
Well, I mean, there's Tinder. I've heard of Bumble. What are some of the other big ones?
Well, those are apps on the phone. Tinder obviously is the biggest app for dating. I think, it's one of the most downloaded apps from App Store and Android Play Store.
I mean, that's the one generally, but insert any app that you've got on your phone for dating. And
well, I think some are more so there's a difference, right, between like the casual sex dating apps, right? Like Tinder is more geared towards that. I think Hinge is one I've heard of that's like that as well. But
and I've heard that people, like, it varies regionally, that some people who really have good luck on Tinder, in another region, Tinder doesn't work, and you got to be on Hinge or you got to be on Bumble. So, viewers, feel free to experiment. If something's not working for you, maybe that's another thing you could try, is just try a different dating app in your area.
Well, we'll see. We'll dive into the advice here, but let's talk about the apps themselves first. So yeah, the other types of apps are more like, farmersonly.com or eHarmony. These are more like, I would say, more dating and, based on a profile and getting to know you more than just the image, Now, if you you saw some videos in the intro there. Now, one girl, I didn't even have time to look at these guys, and she's just like, no. Well, it's like to be, young and single in Utah, and just no. I mean, if you look through like the Tinder videos on TikTok, you're going to see a lot of similar situation where these girls are just no.
I know, it must be exhausting having to say no to so many eligible young men.
Right. So let's take a look at a graph real quick. Now, what we're seeing here, and I'll put this on the screen, is that men and women match differently. So first of all, mostly men on Tinder. So I think it's like 75%. I'll put the stats up there. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head, but it's about 3/4 of all the app users are on Tinder. But go ahead and take us through what we're looking at here, Natalie.
All right, so the little green bar, that is how many people that the men are liking that they're actually getting matched with. So the women are reciprocating. 1% of the women that men like will swipe back on them. And then men will like 50% of the women, but it won't be a match. The women will go, no. And then the men will pass on about 50% of the women.
So it does seem to be that men they'll like 50% and they'll dislike 50%, which kind of makes sense.
They'll get matched with 1% of those 50%.
And if you think about the average guy, he's just average, right? So if you're an average, you will want to date someone that is average like you or slightly better.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense, just law of averages. If you're the median person and you're medium attractive, you'll like people who share your attractiveness and are more attractive to you, and you'll dislike the people that you perceive. So it's going to be about 50-50. This makes total sense. But This next one's kind of shocking. What do we see here?
All right, so we see that women are liking and matching with about 2% of men. They are liking but no match about 3%. So they're only liking about 5% of all the men, and then they only get matched with about 2% of them. 95% of the men, they say no. And,
right.
And if you remember your other statistic that you mentioned, that most of the people on the apps are men, so you can imagine how many men are trying to match with these women. It's a lot.
Right. So I mean, if you're, if I was thrust back into the dating scene, heaven forbid, if I had to go back, I mean, I don't think I would go to dating apps just straight up, because it's mostly other men on there. And of the other men, women are swiping left, or they're rejecting about 95% of them, which means women hold themselves in the 95th percentile, right? We talked about the average guy, he might feel like he's in the middle. So half the people he thinks are his attractiveness or better, he's going to like them. And half of them he thinks are worse. But for women, they think 95% of all people are less attractive than them. So that means most women think they're in the top 5%.
I hear that thrown around a lot. And maybe some women do have this really overinflated sense of self, but I don't know that is what's going on. When you're a woman and you have, like in those TikTok videos, if you have 1,000 matches in your inbox, how many of those 1,000 men can you date this weekend? Okay, even if you were like, you had 10 hours a day to date, so you're gonna date like three dates a day for the weekend. So you have 2 days on the weekend. Maybe add in a Friday night. So maybe you can date like 10 guys around the clock.
So I think what you're getting at is
you have to be selective.
You have to be selective.
Right. It's not, I am so much better than these guys. It's how can I narrow these guys down?
Well, right. So you are correct that the more men on there, the more likely that they'll match. And also, I think you are right. Like when you have this ability to pre-select, right? If you're looking on Google and you're looking for a place to go eat Chinese food, you're going to look for the highest rated. You are going to be selective. You're going to say, I don't want to spend my money on like just a so-so. I want the best of the best of the best. I think the real problem women are finding, though, is that the things they're selecting for are this infamous 666. Now, for the uninitiated, 666 is 6 feet tall, 6-figure income, and has a six-pack. So if the men don't have those 666, they're just not interested. But the real problem with the 666 is that most men are not 6 feet tall.
Right.
Right? So again, I mean, we can blame it on a woman's inflated sense of self-worth. That's definitely part of it. I'm not going to say it's no part.
I'm going to say that maybe there's a small percentage who are super inflated, but I'm going to say a lot of them are just, they have to narrow it down.
Well, they do have to narrow it down, but what they're narrowing it down by, those parameters, are extremely unrealistic, right? I think if you sat a woman down, and you can see this on, they do this on the whatever podcast all the time. They say, or, Rollo Tomasi and the Access Vegas podcast or Fresh and Fit, all these different podcasts, they'll sit down these models and they'll say, okay, what are you looking for? And they all say 666 is what they're looking for. But then they'll run through the stats. They're like, well, the average man in the United States is 5'9", and the average man in the United States makes $50,000 or something like this. It's not a lot, So they like go through this and they say, so your statistic to find a 666 is literally 1 in a million.
Right, and I think that is true. I would say that they're not going on these apps saying I'm better than 95% of men, but I will say that if you're spending all this time on Tinder and you're only matching with these type of guys, then it might give you a skewed sense of reality that, hey, it's very easy to be 6 feet tall and it's very easy to have six figures and a six-pack. And so it might give you a skewed sense of reality.
Yeah, well, a skewed sense of reality. And again, I would proffer that skewed sense of self-worth, because she goes, every woman, I mean, what we're seeing in the statistics is that every woman is swiping left or rejecting 95% of guys out there. So, I mean, when you sit on an app and you just say, no, 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 that means you feel like you're better than all those guys. And you feel like just a better guy is just around the corner. I don't know what that one woman was looking for, they're waiting for
not
Matthew McConaughey to show up.
The pilot. Who else was on there?
I barely had a chance to look at him, but I imagine this is the experience for a lot of women.
Was there like some snowboarder extreme sport guy on there or something? I don't know.
Yeah, like a bunch of guys that, I mean, they look decently attractive to me. They just look like regular guys. And I mean, that's who most women are going to end up marrying, is just a regular guy. I mean, most people are just regular, we're not all models and
right. And I mean, what these women might not realize is that the men that they are swiping on, so is every other woman out there. So this small percentage of men is getting all the dates.
Yeah.
And all the other men aren't getting anything. And so they don't realize that their competition for these men is very high. And so getting a date with them might be easy. Securing a relationship with this type of man might not be so easy.
And another angle I kind of want to talk about is that dating apps, it's kind of weird, but their incentive is to keep you dating. Like the way Tinder makes money is they only give you a certain number of free likes or something like this,
right,
or
for
super
the men,
likes.
right.
And so you can like a certain number of people, and then after that you gotta pay for these likes. But it's misaligned incentives, right? If Tinder, if you only paid Tinder if you got married, right, it would be a different app. But the app doesn't work that way. You only pay as long as you're single and keep buying these likes. So I'm not saying that if someone came up in your profile that you were marriage material, that it would not match you or something like this. I'm not saying they're actively skewed against it, but they don't have any incentive to actually find someone that you're going to be compatible with.
Right.
So-
And I think getting all those likes and stuff for women, getting so many likes and stuff, it's a little bit validating. And you know what? If they don't secure, it's kind of like gambling. If they don't secure that relationship with their first 6'6" man, then the next one's just a swipe away, and they can try their luck with the next one.
Yeah, and I definitely think that's the case, that they will swipe, and they'll keep doing that. But again, that's going to run out over time as they continue to age. There's this invisible wall that women will hit when about 30, and they'll start to fear that they're not going to be able to start and have a family, right? And so they're prioritizing their career and their education and all the things that aren't starting a family. But then they say, but I really want a family. So around 30s, when they have their come to Jesus moment, and they say, oh, I need to settle down. And then they look around and say, well, where have all the good men gone?
All right, they're married.
Well, they're married, or they've given up, because again, if you're a guy and you are not matching with 1% of all the women out there, you have to work, you have to climb mountains. We saw that one with the guy that literally swiped 1 million times and only got like one date. I mean, that's impossibly unrealistic standards. And not all men are at his level of attractiveness. Obviously, we saw some really good attractive guys in the other video. But just for an average guy, I mean, it's so difficult. So I actually do have a recommendation for men, and that would be, if you're looking for marriage, I would stay off Tinder. I don't think it's going to be worth your effort, to be honest.
Right. Well, one thing that I did want to kind of hit upon tonight is how much dating apps have changed the dating scene. Like, if you think about it, for you and I, we didn't meet on a dating app. When we were dating apps, I kind of viewed them as something that really desperate people did. It wasn't...
Yeah, and it was same experience for me. It's very unusual I remember the first time I really heard about online dating, my cousin actually met his wife on, I think it was like eHarmony, one of these early adopters. And I was kind of shocked. It seemed really strange to me. I'm like, wait, you met someone through the internet? Even 15 years ago, that was still kind of a weird experience.
They were advertising on TV, on like the commercials, so you would have, like the little jingles, farmersonly.com. Like, do you remember those?
Oh yeah,
the commercials
Farmers Only
and stuff.
You don't have to be lonely at farmersonly.com. Yeah.
So anyways, at that time, maybe I was just really immature or something, but I saw those and I'm like, oh, that's for desperate people who can't meet somebody in real life, So the perception of dating apps and how we're meeting people is dramatically different from how we dated, or for you viewers, if you think about how your parents might have met.
Yeah, obviously dating's changed. I was looking at other statistics. They're saying about 1 in 3 people now find their romantic partners online. Not 1 in 3, sorry, it's the top 3 ways. So the number 1 way is still through friends and family, acquaintances, people you know. So when you're single, it seems like that social way, that's the way we mobilized for thousands of years.
Right.
Now you shared a funny anecdote with me earlier about a man who worked in the library.
I won't say his real name. I'll make up a new name for him. Wade. Wade is not his real name, but I don't want to embarrass him. So, anyways.
And we know he's watching this show.
We know.
Yes.
Of all our 30 views on our last video.
Hey, there was more than that.
Wade was one of them. I haven't looked at the statistics in a while, or our numbers in a while. But so Back when we lived in Kansas City, I would take our little girl every week to the library for the children's read aloud. And it was a man who ran the read aloud, Wade. And Wade was actually also a professional voice actor. And so he just did like the most amazing like little animal voices and stuff. And every character would have its own voice. And the animal sounds were incredible beyond. And every single woman at the library there was wanting to hook Wade up with their nieces or their cousin or their friend. Everybody wanted to help Wade get into a relationship.
So that kind of dovetails right into what my advice would be for specifically men is I would avoid, at the very least, Tinder. Now, if you are going to go the online route, I have some suggestions that way. But for the most part, I still think the most popular way to find someone to date and to marry is to mobilize your social network. Now, it does seem like that's getting harder and harder in a post-COVID world where everything's locked down, everything's immobilized. No one can afford a house, so a lot of young men are still living with their parents. Men aren't graduating colleges at the same rate as women. Women are, I think, about 60% of college graduates now. And men are making less money than women on average. So, yeah, we are definitely seeing men start to check out of society, which is not a good thing, by the way, but it is unfortunate. But I still think that for men that want to date and marry, socializing or mobilizing your social network should be your first place to start.
And for women, I would say that out in the real world is also a better place to meet men. Now, I know that you're getting potentially hundreds of messages into your inbox, but a lot of women, even when they're getting all these likes and matches and stuff, they're having trouble finding men who actually want a relationship and not just sex. And so for those women, I would say that the real world is going to be a much better place to make a connection. And there's also, another point I wanted to make about, kind of how we evolved to form relationships. If you look at us, how we met, or viewers, if you look at your parents or your grandparents, they might have met each other at school or at church or been introduced by friends or at some sort of social gathering. And the thing about these matches is that a lot of the vetting and such that had to go into making a partner was already done for them. We look back and we say, oh, yeah, my grandparents were engaged in a month. That's crazy. We could never do that. But a lot of the heavy lifting, if you think about it, was already done for them.
They already shared similar values. I mean, likely they lived in the same area, so they're going to have very same political views, probably very similar religious views. So you're absolutely right.
Right. And, if somebody had a bad reputation, people would talk.
Yeah.
So, and there were social consequences if a man tried to take advantage of you, then everybody in the community knew who he was and where he lived, and he would pay for that in a social stigma. And so
he'd be ostracized perhaps by the community. So so I don't think we're better off. Like we kind of talked in our last episodes about this, but online dating was like, oh, we're here to fix, we're here to help. But I think overall it's made things harder for people, and especially for men that are having these extreme rejection rates, from what they perceive as the majority of people on these apps are men. So they see these as a viable option. I think another thing too might play into it is in these the Me Too movement. I think has kind of scared men away as well, because that movement was interesting because while there were some legitimate like horror stories, there were also just stories about women that were not, at worst, some of these stories were like social faux pas, like, oh, he looked at me and made me feel gross. And, you're
Right.
like, well,
So if you're a woman and you're interested in a man out there, then, you might need to give him some sort of signal or encouragement to approach you.
yeah, I think that's true. And the other thing about online dating that really bugs me is there's no sexual chemistry, right? When you meet a woman in real life, there's a way she looks, there's a way she smells, there's a way she kind of moves and winks at you. We saw it in that video where she's like, I might, throw a wink at a guy driving by. There is that very real nonverbal communication that goes on. You're just not going to get that in a 0.25 second look at somebody's profile picture and just no. There's this YouTuber's name is Dr. Orion Taraban, and he's a psychologist, and I study psychology, so I really enjoyed his videos. But one of the analogies he makes is about the winner's circle. So the analogy is that women, when they're dating, they're looking for a man that's already the winner. He's already won the race. He's got all the things. He's wealthy. He's handsome. He's got his own place, his own car.
Right. And that's, I think, really
he's already
exasperated
won at life.
by dating apps because, your grandparents, they didn't meet after the grandpa was already, successful in his business. They had to work hard together and get there. You and I, we didn't meet when you were a raging success.
Well, I'm still not.
Well, I wasn't going to say anything. No, you're always a success to me.
No, but the idea is that, a much better strategy, I think, for women and for men specifically, but for women, is to look for men that have potential to be winners, right? If you just look for the winner's circle, the men who have already made it in life, you're going to preclude a lot of men who just haven't made it yet. And, we're seeing marriage rates drops. We're seeing the number of men having sex is dropping. Like, our society, men and women are basically losing interest in each other. This is not good. It's not good for the individuals, and it's not good for society. So we do want to kind of hook people back up.
Yep. I mean, that love is on the air and love is in the air. That's what we want.
That's what we want. Yeah, we do. It's good for people. It's good for society to have a lot. That family. You're building families. But yeah, if you're looking for someone who's already won the race, it's a small number of people. If you look for somebody who has potential to win that race, someone who's running as hard as they can. Right. And if you're just doing it on a 0.25 second look at someone's profile page, you're not going to be able to screen for that, for things that are going to make you happy with somebody and, someone that's the marriage material. So, yeah, my advice, I think, is to ditch the dating apps.
Yeah. And I would agree for women as well. Get out there in the real life. Make yourself accessible to men in social situations, and I think you're going to have a easier time securing commitment with a great man. You're going to reach these men who are being overlooked, but who are still really wonderful guys. And I think that if you meet somebody in real life, then they're going to see you more as a real person. These guys on the social media or on the social apps, a lot of them are just looking for a quick hookup, and so they do see you as just kind of objectified. But if you meet somebody in real life, then they know you first as a real person. And if you're meeting them in you're in a running club, and this guy goes running every week with you, and everybody else in the group, well, there's social consequences if he doesn't treat you right. So
Yeah, and I would add the caveat there that men are very lonely. So while they're not just looking for hookups, on Tinder they are, and on Tinder is probably where we have the most dating kind of stats and statistics because people like studying it, so it's easier to find stats around Tinder. But yeah, I think most men are looking for long-term commitments. So,
And it probably depends on the age of the man and stuff too. If your age group, if you're a 19-year-old and you're looking at a young men who are 24, they might not be looking for a long-term commitment. Some of them, of course, will be. If you are a woman in her 30s who's looking for a man in his 30s or even early 40s, there's a much larger possibility that the men in that age group will be looking for commitment. So a lot of, generalities and stuff on what we said, but.
So where are some places that people can find other people in real life, IRL?
Okay, in real life, I would say any sort of church gathering, if you're religious, is a great place because these people are people who are more conservative and will be looking for commitment. They're a little bit more eager for that. And a lot of your heavy lifting with the vetting, again, is going to be done. You're going to know that they share a lot of the same values. There's going to come with social endorsements. So I think that church, if you're religious, is an amazing place to meet people. I think that getting involved with volunteer organizations, different causes, you might meet some very passionate men and athletic sorts of clubs that are friendly to men and women. You might meet some men. If you're very politically inclined, you can go to political rallies to meet men. And of course, through friends and family and social gatherings, that is going to be, besides church, if you're religious, social gatherings has got to be your number one. Get out there and get social. You're not going to be men staying inside watching rom-coms. The men are out there in the real world. That's where you got to go to them. Get social. Rely on your friends and your family. Let them know that you want to be in a relationship. And I am sure that they would all be loving to hook you up. They probably already have somebody in mind. They just didn't want to intrude and impose that on you. But once you give them the green light, I'm sure they'll be very happy to suggest someone.
Yeah. So one thing I might recommend is dancing. That is a place I tend to see singles a lot. I did ballroom dancing back in my day, and I even had a dance club for a while, and for swing and blues dancing. And yeah, once they got married, they stopped coming to my club. it was a place for singles to meet. Yeah, it sucked when people left, but it was. That's kind of the point. So another good place.
You're a bit of a matchmaker in a way there.
I actually have several couples that credit me with because I had that dance studio. So that was a good time. But yeah, so that might be another place. But look for things that you're interested in and then go to those places. I mean, it could be, I doubt it's fishing, but it could be basketball, it could be softball, it could be any sort of sport, anything where you're active, dancing. These are all great places to meet people in real life. So what about online? What's the tips and strategies for men that want to meet a woman? They're going to throw a third of all, or it's the third most popular way. So I think
we can't throw that out.
Can't throw that out. But what are some tips and strategies for men?
Okay, well, I think
dating?
I think you've got to take it for the men. I haven't really given it a lot of thought, or okay. I don't.
I'll do this.
I might jump in if I have something to say, but I do have some tips for the women. Is
all right. Well, go ahead. Ladies first.
One is men tend to be very visual. You might put all your thoughts and hopes and dreams and that serious relationships only in your profile, and they're just not going to care. They're going to look at your pictures. So that's going to be your most important thing. So I'm going to say no filters. No filters, no filters, no filters. Okay? If you're looking for something serious, he's got to know what you look like. And then next, these pictures on there, they have to be current. They can't be pictures from 10 years ago when you were 50 pounds lighter. He has to know what you look like right now. I would also include at least one full body shot so he can kind of see what's there. I would say no more than one selfie. If you have 10 selfies on your profile, that is really boring. And he's also going to think, what is she hiding? Like what's going on below the chin here? All right.
Okay.
I mean, this is just how it is. I'm also going to say that unless if you're somebody who wears heavy makeup every day of your life, then wear a more natural makeup look. If you're looking for somebody who is going to see you as long-term potential, who he can take home to his mother, you can have a glam shot in there. That's fine, but most of your pictures should maybe be more like what you wear every day or a more natural look. Of course, I would say wear flattering clothing, and you can, of course, position yourself, learn some camera angles and stuff to be the most flattering that you can be. But I would say don't be overly seductive or overly revealing, because again, you want to be him to be able to see you as kind of more a girl next door he could take home if that's your aim.
Take home to meet the parents.
Take home to meet the parents, not to his home. Good catch. Thank you. One that I hear a lot that I don't know why that this happens, but that sometimes you'll have a girl who every single one of her pictures is a group photo, and the guy, for the life of him, can't tell which girl it is that he's supposed to be swiping on. So if you have, maybe only have one or two group photos, and so that it's very clear who you are.
Yeah.
Also, if you don't want to be seen as, a party girl, if you want to be seen as a more serious prospect, then limit the number of pictures with alcohol in them. I think if you have a picture, like one picture where you're at a party, or one picture where you have a glass of wine at the table, or you're doing cheers or whatever, that's probably fine. But if every single one of your pictures, you have the beer bottle up and you're, raging, that's probably not going to attract men who are serious. And then I will also say that this might go more down to like what you actually write. You should have more hobbies than Netflix, hanging out with my friends, and shopping. Okay, like Netflix, okay, a guy might be like, okay, this is a girl I can take home and have sex with, but show something that he can connect with. You might be really good at makeup, and that might be one of your hobbies, but that's not something he's going to connect with you over. So you might say something more like, I am hiking. I love to go hiking, and I make the best cookies in the world. And I love dogs. I mean, I don't know. I love to go fishing. You mentioned fishing. Mention things that a man can connect with as your hobbies. And then I would also say to consider not only Tinder and Bumble. Of course, those are the biggest ones. So feel free to experiment with them. But if you are a farmer, consider signing up for farmersonly.com. If you are a devout Catholic...
Is that still a website? I don't even know.
We gotta look this up. If you are a devout Catholic, I'm sure that there is a dating site for that. Or hindusonly.com, or,
Yeah, I mean, you could look at a specialty. So from the men's perspective, I'm not an expert. I never dated online, so I don't really know what it takes. But I'm going to give you some rough guidelines, just real rough around the edges. get in shape. Stop being a fat, lazy looking, slovenly. Get in shape. Go to the gym. It's going to take you some time, but it's good for your health and it's good for dating. So get in shape so that, you can show off that beach body. That's probably the number one tip I have for men. Number two, maybe get some nice clothes. Number three, get some nice photos, just as far as photo goes, you could just hire a photographer to take a couple photos of you. Just where you're in the bathroom and there's big shadows in your eyes and it looks like
there's little like stains all over the mirror.
Yeah. So my number one advice is get in shape, and number two would be get some nice clothes. Get some nice shirts, a nice jacket, and number three, get actually a professional photographer.
Okay. Now you mentioned something the other day that I think we should bring up here. Fish.
Go ahead. Fish. So fish. One thing I hear over and over again from women is, why is there fish in his profile? I hate fish, dead fish. It's like, I don't want to see something dead in your profile. No, I don't know why, but women seem to really hate fish.
Right.
So.
And I think for women, first of all, if you're a liberal woman or a vegan woman, like they associate that with kind of like this really super uber conservative, redneck, unintelligent type guy. So they're never going to swipe on you. So, I mean, maybe that's what you want, is for those women to eliminate you. But I would say even other women, even more conservative women, who might even like fishing themselves, they are probably not going to enjoy looking at something freshly dead. That's probably like
so
not,
for whatever
not
reason,
appealing.
Avoid that.
Maybe do a picture of you fishing in a boat. You know?
So I think that's right. I think the key is you do want to have some pictures where you show something you're passionate about. So your passion could be fishing. Your passion could be hunting. Just omit the dead stuff that like people just don't want to know where their food comes from. So just omit that, But yeah, just show something you're passionate about. And one thing I think for me personally is consumerism is not something that is attractive to be passionate about. So if your goal is just to buy stuff, like you collect toys, like you're a toy collector, that is just consumerism. I don't think there's anything interesting or redeeming about that hobby. I'm not saying every hobby you have has to be productive and interesting.
For attracting a woman.
But yeah, if you want to be attractive to somebody, just the fact that you buy a lot of toys meant for children is not. Now, let's say, for example, you're really into Legos. I do know a few people, adult men, who are into Legos. If your hobby is just buying Legos, so you have these Legos, I mean, that's not that interesting. But if your job is to like make Lego sculptures, maybe you make and create these, really intricate or really big or really interesting Lego sets, and then you have like a social media following about your Lego sets. I don't know, right? But just buying stuff is not an attractive hobby.
Right.
Just
and
consumerism is not an attractive hobby.
We're all allowed to have hobbies just for the pure purpose of enjoyment. So I don't think that there's anything wrong with you if you're a man and you like to do Legos, but maybe don't put that as like one of your hobbies on your social media profile. Maybe it's more things that you do, more action type things. But then you know what you should do if you get dating a young lady that you meet probably in real life and not the dating app? One of your dates, build a small Lego thing with her. That's like doing something with her, and you can talk as you're doing it, and and connect. And
I think it's just the aspect of just buying versus doing. So if you're doing something interesting, be a man of action. Yeah. And another little tip is women hate that men relax playing video games. So it's just a fact of life. Most men that have a computer have computer games. It's just going to be the way it is. But I wouldn't advertise that as something that is your hobby. It's just to turn off the women. most women just hate the idea of a man relaxing. So,
Oh.
so don't do it.
I think there's a difference between, I like to, play an hour or two on the weekends or maybe a half an hour after work to wind down versus I spend every waking hour of my day that I have available playing video games.
Yeah,
And
there are some, I mean, I guess it does depend on your level of it, but at any rate, it's like the alcohol thing, like one picture of one drink does not an alcoholic make, but if every picture you have is you with a glass in your hand, they might think you're an alcoholic. Same thing with, video games. An hour or two on the weekend, that's a fine hobby to have to kill some time. But if you are on it all day, every day, that is, that's a turn off to people because they don't want to be, second place in your life. So.
Right. They don't want to feel like you are escaping from them into a video game or that you're not putting
It is escapism.
That you're not putting forth effort into the relationship,
Well said. All right. Well, that is a great topic. I think we covered it. Again, I have not done online dating, so
take everything we say with a grain of salt.
Don't listen to me. Listen to someone who does it.
I think we still gave some good advice there. We might not have met on an online dating app, but we are successfully married. We did successfully get into a relationship. So, I mean, there is that, not to, brag or anything, but pat myself on the back. Pat you on the back. We did it.
We did do it in real life, the old-fashioned way.
That's the best way if you can
manage as far as my opinion on that goes, I think definitely if you leverage that networking first, leverage that real life, and besides, if let's say you pick up tennis or snowboarding or some activity. It's going to have you lead a more active, interesting, healthy life and you get out there. If your hobby really is Legos, that's hard to get out there unless maybe there's a Lego club and you can meet like-minded Lego enthusiasts. Yeah. But generally, I mean, for finding people in the real world, go out there and do things that make you interesting. Go pick up a sport or hobby that is social in nature. I think you'll have a lot better luck there than trying to be a 1 in a million swiper. That guy we saw, he would have much better luck by, well, first of all, lose the weight and go work out and go be physically attractive. But number 2, get out there and meet real people doing real things that are fun and interesting,
right, and
instead
it's better for men, it's better for
swiping.
Women.
1 million swipes. How long has he been on that app?
I don't know. Maybe he has a bot do it for him.
Maybe it's a bot. All right. Well, thanks for tuning into our show. Join us on all your famous podcasts places. We're on Apple, Spotify, Castbox, and YouTube. So please check us out on all the things. Subscribe, like, comment. We love to hear from you. It does make our day when we get a nice comment. So feel free to do that. Until next time, what's our outro now?
Do we have a sign off now?
Well, it used to be take care and love each other, but I was told that's not a good outro. So
it's fine if you want to do it. I don't know if I was feeling it.
You heard it here.